Here's the colours.
I'm baffled by the tech.
I already love that you have come dressed in branding colours. So
Yeah.
on trend, it's like we queued you up for that.
Slimming black.
So if we keep on looking in this direction, it's because we can see ourselves, and I think we're both enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically going to be what our interview is going to be about. No, I should give you your proper introduction,
Right,
and
okay.
I must say that
I'll grab my coffee.
you grab your coffee while I give you a formal introduction, and I'm also going to read it because it's quite lengthy.
Right.
And Gail gave it to me about 30 seconds ago, but luckily you were in the room at the time, so you were aware of this massive amount of preparation that we just did. So are you ready?
Go for it.
I don't even know if you just wrote this.
I did actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
about to hear your own words.
Actually, this is the truth, however.
Wait, is it?
Yeah. Unlike the other times.
Okay, so are you ready to hear
Yep.
the truth about Andrew Johnson? So, Andrew, the man
Yep.
who's sitting next to me, has over 25 years' experience in relaxation, meditation, mindfulness, and resilience training. He's the co-creator of the With Andrew Johnson recordings. As apps, these recordings have had over 1 million downloads.
11 million.
11 million downloads.
Yes.
I just needed you to say 11. That was the
11.
only reason. Perfect. I'm going to go again. 11.
11.
Okay, good. With Relax, Change and Create, he has delivered workshops to companies and charities all over the UK. Andrew has worked with a number of startups, helping teams build self-care, resilience and boost creativity.
Perfect.
So with that, thank you so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
to join us today.
I am so excited to be here.
Do you know, just as well, because that was a pretty raucous and all over the place introduction, so I'm
Yeah.
glad you're excited and we can wing it with the rest.
Absolutely.
So I'm intrigued about how a man like yourself got experience of relaxation, meditation, and then also tech. How did that come to pass?
Well, I've been meditating since, gosh, maybe so long ago it's untrue, since I was about 15. And I formally trained in clinical and medical hypnosis 25 years ago. So that's what I've been doing, and I've just followed the technology as it's gone along. So I started off my recordings, because you give a recording to clients, you see. So you give a recording, cassette. Do you remember them?
I do.
Yes. And then when computers came out with CD burners, I thought, wow, this is cool. I can do CDs. So I got them professionally recorded. I started burning CDs, and then I thought, right, maybe I could sell those on this new interweb thing. So I guess about 1996, 97, started with a really basic website I did myself. And then MP3s came out, and of course that changed everything.
Right.
Digitizing my recordings, getting them out there. And that was, so I've been sort of at that, I wouldn't say the leading edge of tech, but I've followed the transition through pre-computer, through to using computers, MP3s with the iPod, and then 10 years, nearly 11 years ago, the iPhone came out. And I'm a big Apple fanboy, so I got an iPhone. I think it was the first person in Scotland to have an iPhone. I got them from New York. And I downloaded software to crack it, and so that it would work on the sort of service provider I was with. And then the App Store came out, and I was jumping up and down saying, I need apps for this. And my now business partner in the apps contacted me, and he'd been using one of my CDs to help him and his wife get to sleep. And we started off doing apps. And it's been a roller coaster since then. We've had 10 years of it.
So what has that ability for you to employ the use of technology had in terms of your vision on the impact you think you can make with the work that you do?
Well, the App Store was transformational for me, because traditionally I was just using my limited knowledge with a limited website to sell my limited MP3s. And I never expected the App Store to be huge, but one of the great advantages we've had with the apps was getting in early. And that has led to me always trying to be ahead of the curve on audio delivery. Personally, for me, it's all audio delivery, so I want to deliver the audio in the best way that I can to the end users. And we started off with one app, and I remember the really early days of the App Store and looking at the sales in the American App Store, even before the European App Store was open, and thinking, wow, if this keeps up, if we do these sales every day for a month, I can have a good night out, Yeah. I can have a bottle of wine and something to eat. But then it just went stratospheric as And then when Android, of course, came out, that added a huge amount. So it's been a tremendous learning curve. So I know a lot about tech, but not really deep.
Yep.
So what you guys are doing here today just absolutely fascinates me, because I've never been part of a bigger team.
Right. So talk about that journey. Has it always been you then working in partnerships or with co-founders, or?
Well,
what's
Mike
the
and I,
makeup been?
my partner Mike was a lawyer, still is a lawyer. He lives on an island just off Seattle. And I think we had about 8 or 9 really successful apps in the App Store before we had a contract, which is a bad thing to do when your partner's a lawyer. Luckily, I trusted him implicitly. But we had never met. We'd
Right.
Skyped. We had never met. It took about a year and a half before we met in New York and signed a formal contract. And we have a really strange business relationship. Not strange, it's a lovely relationship, but because he's the sort of legal and techie part of it, and because I'm the creator and the front face of it, the two, we don't really cross. So
Yeah.
we have some decisions about doing apps, and then it's left to both of us to get on with it. And as long as it doesn't break on one side or the other, we talk maybe once a fortnight, once a month, and that's about it.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? How the way that different teams work and relate,
Yes.
and different minds relate to each
Yeah.
other as well.
Yeah.
So let me dig in a little bit to when you said that you have a background in resilience training.
Yes.
That's something that I'm intrigued
Right.
with, especially with what we're doing this week.
Mm.
A lot of people have said to us, the dangers of the hustle culture is that you guys could be looking like you're encouraging that. We're doing this in 1 week. It's such a short period of time. It's a process that normally would take months, years. It's a journey
Sure.
that people go on. And obviously, we want to say that people should look after themselves and there should be a balance.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about resilience training and the work you do there.
Well, I think it's important that you recognise that what you guys are doing here today is wonderful, and it's incredible, and it's amazing how much you can do in a short period of time. The adrenaline, the coffee, the food coming in, the technology is incredible, and that is brilliant. But a lot of people then stick with that. They try to keep that level of adrenaline flowing because they think that's where the excitement is. And in actual fact, you can soon burn out. Especially when you're mesmerised with technology and all the things that are going on. In my business, what I see lately is so much technology is taking over our lives that we're not having the time to let things process.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the work that's causing the issue. A lot of people that I work with, the work is where they come to escape, and they've got boundaries, and they come in at this time and they leave at this time, and that's good. They know their job. It's what's going on outside with the family and the money and the weather and the commuting and the politics and Brexit and all that stuff that is, and parents and children, that's adding all the pressure. Unfortunately, at times, when people break, they'll break at work. And it's for something that's unrelated to what's actually happening outside. So what I teach is the ability to take yourself away and quieten the mind and still the body. So slowing the heart rate and slowing the breathing and dropping down into stillness. And the more that you can practice that, the quicker you can integrate it. And the quicker you can integrate it, the more you're able to recognize when you need it. And that's the real issue. It's about not only recognizing that you need it, but having the techniques to go away and do 5 minutes just to do a little reboot. Anyone in the technology knows, and it's an old adage and an old analogy, but there are times that the only thing that works is switching it off and rebooting it, and that works with us too.
Right.
And the more that you practice these techniques, the quicker you're able to get into that reboot.
What role does habit play in that? Because I can imagine that when I feel like I have time, I can take those 5 minutes or that half an hour and I can do some meditation.
Yep.
And when I feel like I don't have time is probably when I most need those things. So what role does habit play?
That's an amazingly important question. There is a point that you need to get to with habitually taking time to go into stillness or eyes closed work, that you need to have a little bit of faith. And sometimes for people it can be a week, 10 10 minutes a day for a week, and sometimes it can be 2 or 3 weeks. Traditionally, it's thought that it takes 3 weeks for a habit to develop. But there will come a point relatively quickly that you will start to really recognize that taking time out of being in front of the computer gives you more time in front of the computer. Actually, not more time, more productivity, more creativity, more intuition, more accuracy. And when you do that, people then start to, instead of doing 10 minutes of stillness, they'll maybe do 15 or 20. And you will find that most individuals will have an optimal time for themselves. There's no right or wrong, but most folk will find a time that they can put aside that's perfect for them. And then that gets them into the state where they can just let go and say and reboot.
Those things that you describe sound like something that everybody would want. More focus, more creativity, more problem solving ability, because we don't want to work more, we want to work sensibly and with efficiency.
Work smart.
Exactly. But I can imagine that the story I would be telling myself, which is the same reason why I find it hard to leave my desk at lunchtime to go eat somewhere else, is, but I just need to get this one more thing done, or my task list is this long, or my output is equal to my worth.
Yeah.
How do you start challenging those thoughts that you have, saying, yeah, but today I don't have the time to do that thing?
I think for everyone there is a convincer, and that convincer is different. In all the time that I've been doing this, most folk will report that people will start to do some form of self-care, and they will find that their sleeping gets better. And that's the first thing that I would teach people to do, the techniques to get you down into sleep. Because it doesn't matter what's happening in life, if you have a better night's sleep, everything's better the next day. So learning the techniques to help you sleep is wonderful. But for most folk there is a convincer. And it's hard because as individuals, that convincer is different for everyone. It's an internal thing. And so there needs to be some form of structure. So leaving the individuals to go into some form of stillness initially is kind of difficult because the conscious mind is always there. So what tends to happen when I work with companies is they'll bring me in and I will do a structure of an hour and then leave them to it. And then we do another hour the next day, or we do a full morning to give them foundational training, and then top-ups with recordings. And when you've got a specific time that you put aside for it, when there's a group of colleagues all doing it, then they feel as if they're missing out if they don't do it. And one of the great things I have as working in teams is that there'll always be someone who gets it quicker.
Right.
And that someone will be the evangelist for telling other people how their life has changed in a beneficial way. But also what happens when you train people in teams to learn these techniques, it gives the team members the ability, if someone else is having a difficult time, for them to say, go and do some breathing. And they both know what they're talking about, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's amazing. So because that's something that I find that we lack, and we talk about it when we do leadership or development training as well, is we don't have the language, the formulas to be able to say, Andrew, I've noticed that maybe something seems to be up. Do you want to sit down and take a moment? Whereas so that sounds like you're giving people the type of language that they can use to offer their colleagues a chance.
You're giving a solution, just a little solution. Go and do what that strange Scottish guy said we should do.
Whatever
Go and sit in stillness for 5 minutes, or listen to that recording, or do some deeper breathing, or relax the muscles, or quieten your mind. Rather than traditionally what people say is, well, just go and get some fresh air. But people go outside and they go, oh, right, and then they go on their phone. And they're back involved in it again.
What is that moment? What is that moment where we're meant to take some fresh air, take a walk, or have a moment, and we pick up our phone to fill it?
It could be many things. Fear of missing out, habit's desperate. It really is. You see people sitting together in a pub and one gets up to get a drink, or one goes to the toilet, and the other person within 10 milliseconds on their phone. It's just habit. Habits drive us, good or bad habits. And it's nice to have an enforced time that we don't have these technological boxes of wonders in front of us. I went over early part of last year to Seattle for a meeting with Mike, my business partner, and I had a choice of flying from London to Seattle on Virgin or British Airways, and Virgin had Wi-Fi, and for that very reason I chose British Airways,
Right.
because there's something quite nice about going, oh, I can't use this. Headphones on, music, meditate, sleep, watch movies, and not be connected completely to other people's agendas telling me what I should be doing.
Right. Right.
So we're all driven by other people's agendas with this.
Do you think the starting point then is awareness of when those habits
Yes.
are happening?
Yes. The awareness comes for a lot of people when something breaks,
Right.
and then they'll blame what's external to them. They'll blame the traffic, they'll blame their partner, they'll blame work, they'll blame everything, when in actual fact, the only thing we can change is how we feel about it.
Yeah.
So in gaining some perspective and in gaining some awareness of actually this, we can react to slightly different, and that we can put our phones off for half an hour and we're not missing anything, is wonderful. So there's a whole new movement at the moment of people putting real time aside to reconnect, to go for a walk without the phone.
And that's something that is maybe surprisingly or maybe very obviously coming out of Silicon Valley and tech cultures.
Very much
Those
so.
are the people who
They
are
are.
switching off and are putting those boundaries in place,
Yes.
and that's telling.
Because I think they're recognising now how much of an effect it's having on us. Even just, as I said earlier, just this being constantly connected is stopping the intuition coming up. It's stopping people listening to the little inner voice. In a couple of even a generation ago, people had time to be bored or time to daydream.
Yeah, so you mentioned that earlier, the way that we are filling all of those moments,
Yeah.
those gaps, those pauses, does that mean that we're having less time to reflect and so therefore learn?
Mm-hmm.
When is our brain having the chance to do that, or what is the risk if we don't get the chance?
Well, what's happening is people are going to bed at night, closing their eyes, and all the things that they should have thought about or dwelled on or processed are coming up. So that's why we have 65 to 70% of adult population have difficulty sleeping from time to time. It's massive, it's an epidemic. And it's, in my opinion, it's because people aren't putting time aside just to let things come up. And you can't make it happen, you've just got to allow that process to happen. And it might be happening unconsciously, but when you're bombarded with information all the time, even the unconscious mind, which is incredibly powerful, will become overwhelmed with what's going on.
How can people start to recognise their own warning signs, their own red flags, or those of their teammates or colleagues?
I think, as you said earlier, having some form of language that you can communicate with colleagues and just say, hey, how are you feeling? How's things? Putting a little bit of time aside without technology. Putting into place some simple meditative techniques, some mindfulness, some breathing, offering techniques like yoga and doing some stretching, getting away from man-made lights, getting some fresh air, eating a bit healthier, and obviously hydration is massively important. So it's about allowing the awareness to be there. Does that make sense? It's once you talk about the elephant in the room and people start talking about it, they start to share and they see that we're all exactly the same.
Right.
We all have exactly the same issues.
So that shared experience.
Shared experience.
Do you find that within groups? You said you have one person who's maybe the proponent of it and the advocate and the champion.
Yeah.
Do you also have the person who's resistant to
Yep.
it? And how do those dynamics work for the betterment of the team?
Well, it turns out that the people who are resistant to it are the ones who really need it. And I think certainly the way that I work with teams and individuals is to take away the woo-woo out of it, take away the unnecessary baggage that comes with things like meditation and mindfulness, and teach the foundational things that people actually can't deny, that there's a change to their breathing, there's a change to the tension in their muscles, there's a change to the quality of their thoughts, there's a change to their creativity and their intuition, but that does take a little while. I also don't take myself really seriously, and I think if I did, that would put other people's backs up, they'd say.
Right.
So a lot of the techniques that I've learned and then gone on to teach over the last 25 years have been the techniques that I will teach and give to people. So there's a lot of people out there who do this from a different viewpoint. They will say, I am doing this to you, and I control the power for this. Whereas everything that I teach, it's like, I do this, but you can do this exactly the same. So I can teach you how to control your pain. I can teach you how to be really in control of creativity and intuition for goal setting and creating a much more positive lifestyle. And all these things, once you learn the foundations of them, are really easy to build on. Then people go away and use them themselves. So, but there's always something that gets through to even the most resistant person.
So if within our teams, maybe people aren't resistant, they're maybe open to exploring it, but maybe the idea of, and perhaps it's the words mindfulness or meditation, maybe that sounds scary. Maybe all they've ever heard is silence your mind. How do you make your mind be quiet? Is that the aim? What do you say to people who are panicking about, what do you mean I meant to sit, not just in silence, not speaking out loud, but silence of my mind?
No, you can't silence the mind. The mind is always there. It's just you can give it space. So there are monks who have been meditating for 40 years. They will still have thoughts. Right. The problem is that if you think you're doing something wrong, you then blame yourself for having the thoughts, and you add energy to them, and then you criticize yourself, and it's like a vicious circle.
Right.
And it's this downward spiral. What in actual fact you do is you get yourself into stillness, you learn that you can do it, you give yourself permission and intention to do it, and then when thoughts come up, you step back from them and observe them. I was talking with a group earlier I was working with. The Buddhists call the conscious mind the monkey mind. It's just there like a little naughty monkey. And so if you think of it like a little naughty monkey, if you try to hold on to it, it tries to get away. And if you try to push it away, it comes towards you. And the only thing you can do is let it have its time. You step back and just witness it. And eventually it will go away and sit somewhere and fall asleep. That's what you're looking for. But you can't make it happen. You've got to allow it to happen. And doing that and giving it a bit of space, you then realize that what's coming up is not really real. It's either the past or the future. And what's coming up is mostly repetitive bullshit.
Right.
All of us have this.
Right.
And you stand back and you laugh at it.
Bored of your own brain.
Yeah. The real power is in here, not here.
Right.
So all the great influencers, the great creators throughout history, whether musicians or industrialists or whoever they are, artists, have all found inspiration not sitting at the desk. They've found it in laughter, they've found it in the shower, they've found it in a walk in nature, they've found it when they've given the unconscious mind the instructions of what they want to do, they've worked at it, and it's when they let go that the solution comes up. We've got to have that part of our lives that allows things to come up. Because if we don't, then we're trying to do too much with this, and that doesn't really work.
And I'm recognising from what you're saying that is a practice, and it's a practice because it's not something that we can just do.
No.
We have to train at it.
Yeah.
We have to get better at it, because the idea that you're describing of not holding on or pushing away, that sounds like a very challenging thing in a world where we try to control everything, and we can switch things on and off, and we can have things immediately. And that's not something we can do with our minds.
No, it's not. But when you give it a little bit of time and you allow it to happen and you see the benefits, you realise you're much more in control of yourself than you were previously.
It's counterintuitive.
Yes. Let go of control to become more in control.
Right.
It's much more natural and much more effective and much more beautiful when you do that. And all of us fall off this band, but we all fall out of this. I find myself in a spiral of downward thoughts and emotions because of new businesses that I'm starting, or the way that life is going, or just everything that happens in life. And we forget to take that time. And then people will say, you should do that yourself. And I think, yes, I should. Of course I should. And I go back and get back into the habit.
Right.
We forget it.
Exactly. And I love hearing that, because that's the main aim of this week, is to talk about the realities.
Yeah.
And so often we hear, you'll wake up in the morning, the first thing you do for some silly reason, or the first thing I would do, read a Medium article, and it's telling me, oh, well, this person who's super successful got up at 4, did their meditation, went for a run, did their journaling, and what have you done with your life this morning?
Yeah, good for them.
Exactly, and we all can measure ourselves to these people who are describing their life in a certain way. So to hear someone who is trained and excels at it for 25 years, I feel like, of course, like, it's difficult. Sometimes I find that hard as well. Yeah,
you see, the thing is, there's a lot of people in my industry that do the old, well, I don't get angry anymore, and I don't get depressed anymore, and I don't get sad. Bollocks to it. Of course they do.
Right.
And if they don't, they'll break, they'll burst, something will go. The secret is, when you get into a disturbed state, when you're scattered, when you can't see solutions, what meditation or mindfulness or stillness will give you is a quicker access to your resources. So something will always happen to get you out of a negative state. It always will. And if it doesn't, well, that's a real shame. But most things, we are meant to thrive and survive. We're meant to be creative. We're meant to be resilient. What these tools do is, they don't give you immediate access, for most people most of the time, to something that's happening now. They just speed up the recovery.
Right.
So people will say to me, I can't believe you got angry, or I can't believe you felt like this. And I will say, well, maybe if I didn't have these years of experience of doing this, I might have been angry for 10 times the amount of time, or I might have broken, or I might have picked up a bottle of whiskey, or I might have done whatever. The knee-jerk reactions, this is what we need to avoid, the knee-jerk reactions that damage us and other people.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear.
Yeah.
So you had offered to walk through some mindfulness with us today.
Yes.
Are you still happy to do that?
Yes.
Amazing.
Sure.
What would you like to lead us in?
Well, there's a beautiful little Eckhart Tolle technique, which is about recognizing aliveness in the body. So would you like to take part in this?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if anyone is watching, Rob, are you going to take part in this?
Sure.
Good, okay. There's a silence from the keyboard from over there.
He's clapping.
Okay. This is a perfect example of someone taking some time away from the keyboard. Okay. How much time do we have?
Whatever works for you.
I mean, we have
2 hours? Can I do it 2 hours?
well, if you insist.
Okay, so the secret for anything to do with eyes closed is not to try. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, feet on the floor, Rob, thank you very much. Hands on your lap, whichever way you want to do it.
Okay.
You can have them like this, or here, like this. And if you're watching, and please don't do this if you're driving, take a nice gentle deep breath. Exhale and just close your eyes. Okay, so one of the nice things that you can do when you start to become a little more mindful is to notice the body. You see, the conscious mind really can only concentrate on a few things at the time. So, because your eyes are closed, and because you're not moving, it's kind of difficult to notice how the body is. But there are a few things that you can start to notice. How about your right hand? Now, you're not looking at it, and you're not moving it, but there are certain things you can notice. For instance, the temperature, perhaps the heaviness if it's resting on something, And as you start to notice the heaviness and the temperature, you may start to notice a certain sensation within the hand. This is the way that life is within the body. You can call it energy, you can call it aliveness. And it might be really subtle when you start. It might be really subtle. But along with the heaviness in the hand, and along with the temperature of the hand, there's another sensation. Some form of energy, aliveness, some feeling. And you can't do anything wrong with this. You're just noticing what is. Now, what's interesting is that once you start to notice that energy combined with the heaviness and the temperature in your right hand, you can hold it there and start to recreate it in your left hand. You can start to recreate the feeling of heaviness, the temperature, the sensation of aliveness within the left hand. Now, once again, this is not something that you can make happen. This is something that you just allow to happen. And once you've got used to feeling the energy within the body and the aliveness in the right hand and the left hand, you'll never forget it. It's easier to recreate the next time. Now, what's interesting now is that you can hold that sensation in both hands and you can start to feel it within the arms. The heaviness, the temperature, the energy. Right hand and right arm, left hand and left arm. Now, what's happening with this is that, as I mentioned earlier, the conscious mind can only do so much. And as you rest your awareness in both hands and both arms, the conscious mind is quietening down. It's being diluted within the body, and the body loves this energy. Now, it's only when I mention it that you notice your breathing. Something we do every second of every day, but most of the time we're unaware of it. As you focus on your breathing, in and out, you notice that as you breathe, parts of your body are moving. It may be the stomach, it may be the chest, it may be the shoulders, it may be a combination. In and down and up and out. There are entire yoga practices, Tai Chi practices, meditation practices that focus purely on the breath. If it feels comfortable and natural, touch the tip of your tongue onto the roof of your mouth, just behind the teeth, and notice if that changes the awareness of the flow of your breathing. Isn't it nice to know that you can focus on your breathing, allowing it to happen, and also return your mind and your awareness to your hands and arms at any point, noticing how they feel, Now, even with this slow and really basic practice, even in this short period of time, your mind has started to calm and clear, become tranquil and placid. And as the muscles relax and take on that sensation of heaviness, they rebuild and restructure and re-energize quicker. So even though people feel relaxed after a short eyes closed session, they also can very often feel rebooted, more alive, more energized, more focused. Returning to the hands, returning to the breathing, returning to the moment. And as we near the end of this very short session, you can bring your awareness to each finger and give them a little bit of movement. You can stretch out the arms gently. You can bring an awareness back to how you're feeling. And you can take a deep breath and open your eyes. Hello.
So you do this all the time, right?
This is what I do for a living.
I know, I'm saying you wake up like this.
Yes, I do. Yeah, this is my job, folks. It's that weird.
Feels
How did that?
delightful.
So how did that feel to you guys? Even in that short, that I don't know. That was probably 5 minutes.
I had no idea of the passing of time.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that was.
Yeah,
Or
maybe
short.
5 minutes. I don't know. How did
Yeah.
you feel?
Yeah, really nice.
Okay, so that shows
Really nice.
how quick it can be done.
Centered.
That is so. That is the most basic of basic things. So people will say to me, "Can you teach me meditation?" And I say, "Yes." Close your eyes and follow your breath. That's $300, please.
The secret to
The
success.
secret to success.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's much more than that. But it
Yeah.
is that simple.
Yeah.
And people put too many bells and whistles on it. If you learn the foundational stuff, everything goes from there.
Mm.
I wonder, now that you've joined us, if you wanted to ask Andrew anything about the development of his apps and the technical side.
Yeah, so I was listening in a little bit at the beginning, but you're working on quite a few things right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you've always been kind of interested in new delivery methods
Yeah.
for your business, right?
Sure.
Your voice.
Yeah.
But now you're also thinking about delivery mechanisms for other people's.
Yeah, there's a break in the delivery system for hypnotherapists and people
Yeah.
in my industry.
Yeah.
Who are still stuck on, well, I don't think they're stuck in cassettes, and I doubt very many of them have given up CDs, because most people don't have CD players anymore, but they're stuck on MP3s and or streaming. And we're just about to launch an app that will give hypnotherapists and meditation teachers the ability to deliver their recordings to their clients in an app format.
And when you were thinking about this, like how did you kind of come up with this, and what did you do any kind of experimentation or validation to see what other people were using? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a big pain point for me, because
Yeah,
even
sure.
though I've got all these apps, there are people who still download MP3s.
Exactly.
And there are recordings I have in MP3s that have never become apps.
Sure.
And people want those. And so the delivery systems are delivered by downloadable email to a PC or a laptop, and sync it to your mobile device. But a lot of people now don't have PCs and laptops. So the delivery
Straight
system
on.
is things into Dropbox or WhatsApp.
It's messy.
It's messy, it's clunky, it's inelegant. And it's shareable. So
Yeah.
for people who are doing specific recordings for a specific client, it needs to be kind of private. They
Yeah.
don't want to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
personal. And there's a huge issue with client confidentiality with therapists. And so you want that audio to be delivered specifically and securely to that person on their mobile device. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
That's what we're enabling people to do.
And what stage is it?
The apps
is it
are
at currently
the
right
apps are built and they're in the App Store. We were very aware because of Apple's tendency to look very deeply at pricing structures.
Yeah.
That we needed to get this across the board and get Apple to accept it.
Sure.
Because the app itself is free for clients.
Sure.
The relationship that we as the developers will have is not with the clients but with the therapists
Sure.
themselves. So the apps are built, the back-end portal is about to start being built.
So if I am a hypnotherapist,
Yeah.
I will pay you
Yep.
for my own app, basically.
Yes.
That I will be able to provide to my clients.
Correct.
And then provide my voice and my
Yeah.
recordings
Your
to them.
personalised and bespoke training for them.
Yeah.
Like
So
a personal podcast almost. Like
a personal podcast that it enables, because a lot of hypnotherapists out there work really hard and work long hours
Yeah.
and work, delivering good services to individual clients to give them a recording.
Yeah.
But they're stuck
Sure.
at this level of MP3 and CD. So we're enabling that to
And
to
you
happen.
only focused on hypnotherapists or anybody with a voice who wants their own,
It will broaden out to that.
but right now it's...
Right now it's hypnotherapists because that's specifically where the
Yeah.
pain point is.
Yeah.
But there are people in meditation and
Yep.
mindfulness industries who also do training, and we see a big,
Cool.
we see it opening up to a bigger market.
are we
but
able to-
wellness, but
Are we able to say the name?
yeah,
Or is
it's Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, yes, Cuckoo, KOOKOO.app, Cuckoo.app,
Cuckoo.app.
and we will be launching in April.
Okay, cool.
Assuming that we get the go-ahead from certain government bodies.
right.
I'm not saying a word apart from that.
Do you think that's then the trend, more and more consumers looking for individualised, bespoke, like you said, each therapist delivering something for an individual rather than mass market solutions that I want to sleep better, so I'll take something that's off the shelf?
Well, there's a real market for that. So it's very easy to deliver audio to everybody. You put it on YouTube, you put it on Vimeo, you put it in. I've got maybe 15 recordings on Insight Timer, which is a huge app at the moment. They're only starting to monetize that,
Right.
and that's really good. But it's not an income for me.
Yeah.
It never has been, and I don't know if it ever will be. It depends on their growth strategy, but. What you have is you have all these hypnotherapists who, as part of their session, want to give a recording,
Sure.
and they always have. It's an integral part of a stop smoking session
Sure.
or a phobia session or whatever. They want to give a
Something to
dedicated
take with you. to
something to take
maintenance
away.
and-
Yeah, it's the belt and braces approach.
Sure.
And so they've been stuck at this level, and I've seen people with MP3s. And they have been selling them on their website, and I've seen sales drop by
Yeah.
60 to 70 to 80%
Yeah,
over the last
huge
5-6 years.
Too hard to deliver it now.
It's too hard to deliver it. It's inelegant, and as I say, I'm selling MP3s on my site for £4, but I'm holding people's hands to try and get them on
Exactly.
their mobile phone, even though I've got detailed instructions and
Yeah.
videos. And
Yeah,
never
so
works that way.
customer support
Yeah,
that you're-
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So that's where we are with that, and we're very excited about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
I
Thank you,
really
guys.
Just
enjoyed
spending
that.
so much of your time.
Yeah, and
I loved it.
it was
I'm
brilliant.
keen to see the comments and stuff, but
I know. Well, do you know what was brilliant though? Is that we
You
didn't
weren't
look at
caring about it.
notifications.
Yeah.
We didn't, like you said, we weren't listening to people asking questions during
Yeah.
that session. That was fantastic. So yeah, huge thank you to Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
for
Thank you,
coming in and
guys.
joining us.
I would. Well, I said to you guys earlier, if I wasn't heading away tomorrow to.
We'd have had you as a co-worker for the
Well,
rest
I would just be here in the corner watching. This is
in a non-creepy way.
in a definitely in a non-creepy way. Yeah. But this is so exciting for
Thank
me.
you.
I love all this stuff.
well,
Thanks
great.
very
thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a break, and then we'll start with these custom interviews.